The sentence was delivered without emotion. Humanity is hereby expelled from the Galactic Council. No debate, no appeal, no second chance. For most civilizations, exile meant extinction. For humanity, it meant freedom. The decision shocked the galaxy. Earth had always been difficult, not the most advanced, not the most powerful, but the most unpredictable. Where other species followed order, humanity questioned it. Where others stabilized, humans evolved. Too quickly, too chaotically, too dangerously. The Council had tolerated it for decades, then centuries, until finally it decided humanity was no longer worth the risk. Officially, the reason was simple: non-compliance with interstellar stability protocols. Unofficially, humanity couldn't be controlled. The expulsion was immediate. All trade agreements terminated. All shared technologies revoked. All access to Council networks severed. And one final restriction: humanity was forbidden from expanding beyond designated borders. The message was clear: stay contained, or be erased. For a moment, the galaxy expected collapse. But Earth didn't panic. It didn't protest. It didn't beg. It went silent. That was the first sign something was wrong, because humanity had never been good at staying quiet. Phase 1. Disappearance. Within weeks, human systems began shutting down connections to the wider galaxy. Trade routes vanished. Communication channels went dark. Colonies stopped transmitting. To the Council, it looked like compliance, isolation, containment. They were wrong, because humanity wasn't retreating. It was reorganizing. Freed from Council oversight, human systems began to change, rapidly. Restrictions that once limited development disappeared overnight. Experimental technologies, once banned, were activated. Artificial intelligence networks expanded without regulation. Energy systems evolved beyond known models. Deep space drives, considered unstable, were refined and deployed. Humanity wasn't weakening. It was accelerating. Phase 2, reinvention. Without the Council structure, Earth didn't try to rebuild what it had lost. It built something new. Decentralized governance replaced centralized control. Independent systems collaborated, but never fully depended on one another. No single point of failure. No single authority to collapse. It was messy, chaotic, but it worked, because humanity had never needed perfection, only progress. Meanwhile, beyond the restricted borders, something strange began to happen. Unidentified signals appeared. Brief, encrypted, impossible to trace. At first, the Council dismissed them. Smugglers, rogue factions, minor anomalies. Then entire monitoring stations started losing contact. Quietly, without damage, without explanation. Just gone. Phase 3. Expansion. The realization came too late. Humanity hadn't obeyed the boundary. It had bypassed it. Using technologies developed in isolation, human fleets moved through space in ways the Council couldn't track. Not faster, not stronger, smarter. They didn't follow established routes. They didn't rely on known systems. They moved unpredictably. Colonies began appearing outside designated zones. Hidden, self-sufficient, connected through networks the Council couldn't access. A new structure was forming. Not an empire, a dominion. The dominion. It wasn't announced. It wasn't declared. It emerged. A network of human-controlled systems operating beyond Council authority. Independent, but unified. Flexible. Adaptive. Invisible. By the time the Council confirmed its existence, it was already too large to contain. Emergency measures were initiated. Sanctions. Blockades. Surveillance expansion. Then came the inevitable step. Military intervention. The first engagement. The Council expected resistance. What it encountered was absence. Human systems didn't defend in predictable ways. They didn't hold territory. They didn't engage directly. Instead, they moved, evaded, adapted. Council fleets arrived at strategic targets, only to find them empty. Or worse, transformed. Infrastructure reproposed. Systems rerouted. Data erased. Every strike hit nothing. Every advance led nowhere. Because the Dominion wasn't a place. It was a system. The shift, then something changed. Council systems began to fail. Not catastrophically, not visibly, subtly. Navigation errors increased. Communication delays appeared. Predictive models started producing conflicting outcomes. Small problems, at first, until they weren't, because the Council relied on certainty. And certainty was breaking. The truth. The final realization came from a classified report, never meant to be seen outside the Council. Humanity hadn't just escaped control. It had studied it. Every system, every protocol, every assumption. And then, it built something better. A structure that didn't rely on prediction, only adaptation. The message, the transmission reached every Council system simultaneously. Short, simple, unmistakable. You tried to contain us. A pause. You taught us how. Silence. Then the final line. Now we decide the boundaries. Aftermath. The galaxy didn't fall, but it shifted. The Council still existed, but its authority had weakened, because for the first time, there was an alternative. Not control, freedom, not order, choice. And beyond the edges of mapped space, the Dominion continued to grow. Unpredictable, unstoppable, human. Final record, Council archive fragment. Containment failed. Subject is adapted beyond predictive models. A pause. Recommendation. The record ends. No conclusion, because there wasn't one. Humanity wasn't a problem to solve. It was a force to survive.